And next we'll be turning to Alexey Komov. Alexey is a great friend. I so vividly remember meeting Alexey the first time. And, when I had heard that there was homeschooling in Russia, which I couldn't believe that, back in 2010, I met some people and they said there's homeschooling in Russia. I'm like, there's homeschooling in Russia? Are you serious? This is a post-communist country. I mean, do they even know what homeschooling is? And Alexey will tell you probably a little bit about the history, but homeschooling has been around from the founding of the Russian Republic, which is pretty cool. But, I grew up in the Cold War. I served in the army, and I trained to fight Russians in battle. Yet I went to Moscow in 2014 for the first time. And I went there and I went to the Kremlin and I looked around, and pinching yourself would not do it justice, because I was in the building where the Soviet Politburo met. I was on the top floor where all of the top party officials met. And I was sitting there looking at what was incredible to me. It was a conference that wasn't about homeschooling, it was about family, but homeschooling was part of it. And I was there to talk about homeschooling in the Kremlin, in the building where the Politburo met. And I said, this is incredible. From communism to freedom. And, every country has their issues. And, the press in our country loves to, bash Putin, and maybe he deserves a lot of it. Who knows? But the point is that you see a country that went from being a totalitarian state, communist state, where homeschooling would be impossible. And today you see homeschooling as part of the very founding of the country and a growing movement. And to me, that's pretty incredible, pretty exciting to hear about. And so I'm really excited to hear Alexey Komov's sharing his story, his experience, a wonderful family. So Alexey, please share with us for a few minutes, and then we will get to your questions. Everybody's doing great, keeping time. Thank you, speakers. And we will have a few questions here, and we'll probably wrap up maybe between 10:30 or so. So Alexey, please take the floor, and please share with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. That was really amazing moments in 2014 when we indeed had this World Congress of Families, this great family gathering in the Kremlin, where the big congresses of the Communist Party of Soviet Union were taking place. And there we were defending traditional family values. And World Congress of Families is probably the largest platform, international platform, that unites advocates of pro-family values, and homeschooling included, from over 85 countries. And before that, 3 years before, we have arranged another event. It was called Moscow International Demographic Summit, Family and the Future of Humankind. And interestingly enough, it was held in the building of former Institute of Marxism-Leninism. That was the headquarters of global Marxism-Leninism. And then it was turned into a Russian social university. And they have built a church inside this campus. And we had an international meeting of American, European, global pro-family leaders there, and was also pretty amazing. So this is how I got started with homeschooling. I have learned about it through the wider conservative pro-family movement, which I was trying to develop relations with. And my wife, Irina, she was more involved in educating our kids. And we have seen the real homeschoolers from US, and they were behaving like normal people, like well-educated people, like adults, while they were teenagers. And we thought, well, we want the same for our kids. And then Irina started to follow the school curriculum, but at home with our oldest son. But then it turned out that it was not very effective. So we started looking for any good curriculums, particularly done for homeschooling. And we found Classical Conversations, and we agreed to adapt and launch this wonderful program in Russia, which we did. And last 5 years, we have developed our communities in over 115 cities and villages and small towns, from Pacific coast of Russia all the way to Baltic Sea, Black Sea, also in Ukraine and Belarus. In order to promote homeschooling, which is legal from 1992, as Mike has mentioned, we have arranged a global home education conference in our two major capitals, in two major cities, in St. Petersburg and in Moscow. And we have invited several members of parliament of both Duma and the Federation Council, the upper chamber as well. Senator Mizulina, who is the key person for family policy in Russia. She spoke there and we couldn't stop her. She went over time limits, remember, Mike? She was so in favor of homeschooling, we couldn't believe that it was a big success, really. And then it gave a serious boost to grow homeschooling, and it has grown. There are different estimates that it is over 100,000. It has been like this several years ago. Now probably it's 150,000 or more. There are no official statistics, but we see more and more people joining. In order to get legal protection, we have established a National Homeschool Association of Russia several years ago. And we also have membership as HSLDA. So we were looking for best practices and we have established it. And now today we're just polishing and finally posting on our website the document regulating the regional representatives of our association in different states and regions of Russia. And because there are many people willing to do it. Also, we have the legal support for them. So we post some frameworks how to get your documents right, so state doesn't interfere, doesn't have an excuse to interfere into homeschooling practices. And if there are difficult cases, we deal with them on one-by-one basis and give more in-depth legal advice and go to courts even. We have some good lawyers. So this is National Association of Homeschooling. When there are attempts to over-regulate or restrict homeschooling, and they appear from time to time, basically every year, some politicians, they start, oh, why don't we, regulate more? Homeschooling is growing again. Usually it happens in September when many don't go to school. There is a series of articles in mass media saying, oh, schools are doing bad. They're shooting in the school. Every month there are some shooting. They're looking at America, I guess. This is not the best practice. This is the worst practice, but they do shooting in Russia in the schools as well. Anyway, so people become homeschoolers and they get concerned, politicians. So our association helps to represent all the homeschooling community in dialogue with the state and argue that it's a respectable form of education that gives good results and it should be respected. Also, we have established maybe 4 or 5 years ago, a homeschool support center to give online tests for the parents if they're willing to have some paper saying that they have passed this grade, 5th grade, and so the state cannot ask too many questions. So this is basically what I wanted to say. Also promote homeschooling at different conferences. Just today I was in the center of Moscow speaking at some rather important conference, and I mentioned homeschooling again. A week ago, I returned from the trip through south of Russia, Caucasus, where we had this global gathering of all Russians, they call it. It's pretty influential organization. There again, I argued for homeschooling. There was some opposition, but it became part of a larger patriotic, conservative, pro-family movement in Russia as well. So we tried to mainstream it and become respectable with the help of all of you. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak, Mike.